Welcome to the Tarleton State University Career Services Resume Level 1 video. My name is Rachel Snyder, and I'm the Career Development Coordinator for our College of Business. Today we're going to go over some of the basics of resume formatting. You can check out our website for additional resources. First, I want to mention our Career Cafe. The Career Cafe is where you can drop in, physically or virtually, and get your questions about interviews, resumes, career and major exploration, the job search, and more answered by a career coach. Be sure to check out our website for updated times and location information. Next, I want to tell you a little bit about VMOC. This is a 24/7 online resume review tool that will give personalized feedback on your resume. Think of it as part of the Career Cafe that is always open. The VMOC page can be accessed from the Career Services homepage. There you will find more information on VMOC and login instructions. I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. They are wonderful supporters of career services and they love to hire Tarleton students. Today, we are going to go over why you need a resume, some basic tips on resume building, and how to format each section of a resume. Please note that you can check out examples of what we will be covering today in our book of resumes, which is on the Career Services website. Let's get started. So, the first thing you need to know is why you need a resume. When you're entering your relevant information into a job application anyway, why should you bother? A couple of reasons. First is that the resume is typically your first impression to a company. Think of your resume as your ambassador. It's your ticket to a relationship with these businesses before they meet you in person. As your ambassador, the resume is a representation of you, so you need to make sure that it includes all relevant skills and experiences. It's your highlight reel. Next, the resume is one of the only aspects of the job search that you can control. From the font size to the list of accomplishments, everything that ends up on a resume is your decision, so take advantage of that. Lastly, remember that the resume alone will not get you a job. Very few employers will hire from just a resume. The goal of a resume is to get you an interview. Now, let's talk about how to create a good resume. You need to make sure that you tailor your resume to each position that you apply for. You don't have to start from scratch every time. Some sections, such as your contact information or education, will probably remain the same. But you need to make sure that the experiences and skills that you highlight match with the job description of the job you are applying for. That's why it's important to know what your most valuable skills, accomplishments, and experiences are and that you can articulate them to the employer. If you utilize TextNsync, you can check your co-curricular transcript as a refresher of what you have been involved in. Resumes are very personal, so you'll need to determine which sections you need to put on your resume and what style of resume is best suited for you and your experiences. But we'll dive deeper into that later. Always be sure to proofread your resume for mistakes. Try to get another person's eyes on it as well, and avoid using a template. They can be difficult to edit, and rarely are the sections in the order that we would recommend. Now, let's move on to the individual sections. Here you'll see a list of all of the sections that we will cover and the order in which they should appear on your resume. The first 4 sections, contact information, objective or area of interest, education, and experience or skills, will appear on most resumes. The other sections that you can include will be based on your own experiences. This could be honors, activities, volunteer work, classes, research, or something else. From here, let's break down the individual sections. First, there's your contact information. It should include your name, email, phone number, and address. There are a variety of ways that you can format this section based on your personal preference and technology knowledge. The simplest way is to center the text and make each item its own line. See the top example there. Make sure that your name is between 18 and 24-point font so that it stands out against the rest of the resume text. Pick an email address that is professional. If you made your email back when you were 13 and it's iHeartKitties123, then it's time for an upgrade. And be sure to remove that hyperlink. Additionally, make sure that your address and phone number are up to date. A word though when it comes to the address. If you're going to be posting your resume online on sites like Indeed, it's advisable to create a separate resume without your personal address on it. You never know who will end up seeing your resume. Next, we have the objectives section. Typically, I see this section left off of a resume entirely, or someone has a full paragraph here about what he or she is looking for in a job. Now, that's not bad information. It can be quite valuable. However, on average, an employer spends about 8 to 10 seconds reading a resume. So the employer may skip that paragraph entirely if he or she is trying to move quickly. The information in this paragraph may be better suited for a cover letter, which we'll cover in the Resume Level 2 video. The purpose of the objective here is to be an identifying marker of what position you are applying for to whoever may end up reading your resume. So all you put is the job, the company. It's very straightforward. But if you're posting your resume online or going to a job fair, you won't know what company will end up seeing your resume. That's where the area of interest comes in. Instead of a specific position, you list a broader area that you're interested in. The trick is to make it broad enough that it will apply to multiple employers, but narrow enough that the employers know what type of position you're interested in. For example, the area of interest listed here, special education teacher, is perfect. Multiple school districts can look at this and know what the applicant's looking for, but it's not as broad as just listing teacher as an area of interest. From here, let's look at the 3 different types of resumes. First, there's the functional resume. A functional resume is extremely useful to people who are applying for their first few jobs in life and may not have as much experience to list on a resume. Instead of having a work experience section, this resume will have a large skills section. And the order on the resume will go contact information, objective, education, that big skills section, and then your other sections. Just remember that as you gain experience, you will want to move on from a functional resume style to a different style of resume. Next, we have the chronological resume, which is what most people think of when they picture a resume. Instead of the skills section, you'll have a traditional work experience section, which lists your work experience in chronological order from most to least recent. Your skills are incorporated into these work experiences. The order here is the same as the functional resume. You just have that skills section replaced by the work experience section. And last, we have the combination resume. As the name sounds, it's a bit of a combination of the other 2 types of resumes. The combination resume is the same as a chronological resume, plus 1 new section, the summary of skills section. The summary of skills section is a list of 3 to 5 important transferable skills and is located between the objective section and the education section. If you want some visual examples of these 3 types of resumes, please check out our book of resumes. And you can get on our website for information about the book of resumes. The next section we'll go over is the education section. It's fairly simple, but there are some details you want to pay attention to. You start by listing your degree. Be sure to write out the full degree, Bachelor of Arts, not BA. Then put in and your major. On the same line, list your anticipated month and year of graduation. On the next line, you can list any minor, emphasis, or concentration that you may have. You can also list your GPA if it's 3.0 or above. On that third line, write Tarleton State University, and the city, state of whatever campus you attend. If you're over a year away from graduating, write the word pursuing before your degree. If you have an associate's degree, you will list that underneath your bachelor's degree. However, if you did not get a degree from that junior college, then you do not need to list it on your resume. You can also add study abroad experiences to the education section if you've got any. Now, let's talk about the different skills sections that I mentioned earlier. Pictured here is the big skills section that goes on a functional resume. In this section, you're going to list your top 3 skills that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. And underneath each skill, you will have 3 to 5 supporting bullets. These bullets can be pulled from a variety of situations where you develop the skill: a class, a student organization, volunteering, or a job. This section will fall after the education section on a functional resume. Let's move on to the summary of skills section in a combination resume. Here you'll list 3 to 5 transferable skills that are directly relevant to the position that you're applying for. This section will fall before the education section in a combination resume. The summary of skills section can be a great place to grab an employer's attention. More information on the content is covered in the Resume 2 video, but I'll give you a quick example. If you're applying for, say, a teaching position that requires 3 years of experience, the summary of skills section would be the best place to list 5 years of elementary teaching experience. Next is the work experience section that will be on both the chronological and the combination resumes. You'll write out your work experience like this. First the position, then the organization, then the location in city, state, or city, country form, and then the dates. If it's a current job, you'll put the start date -present in the date section. Try to include the month and year in your dates. Again, this will be listed in order of most to least recent. Underneath each position, you will have 3 to 10 bullets about the position. Remember that employers are spending about 8 to 10 seconds on your resume, so you won't be writing any paragraphs or full sentences, which means you don't need to include periods or personal pronouns. But do make sure to write out your verbs as past tense for past jobs and present tense for your current job. I know I'm not going into much detail on what to actually write in the skills or experience section, and that's covered in the Resume Level 2 video, so be sure to check it out. The last sections that we will cover here are the optional sections. What you include is up to you. Just make sure that it's relevant to the position that you're applying for. So let's dive in. I'll start off by saying that we recommend creating a separate reference page. Your resume is valuable real estate. Don't give it away to someone else's contact information. If you're using a functional resume, or if you have many years of job experience, you may want to list those positions without including the bullets underneath. All work experience has value, so the other experience section is a great way to include all of your work experience. You just list the job in the same order as the work experience section, but then you don't include any bullets. You can also include awards, honors, and other activities on your resume. You can list them out separately, like on the second example, or you can combine them, like on the example at the bottom. Combining sections is a good idea if you only have one thing to list in a section. If you have relevant research, published works, or presentations, those can be made into sections on your resume as well. Feel free to list any volunteer work that you have participated in. This can be pulled from the Texan Service Day, a class you did volunteer work for, an organization you did volunteer work for, or any other source. If you have relevant certifications, you can list them on your resume as well. Make sure to include the relevant dates, especially if it's the kind of certification that expires. Lastly, you can include a relevant courses section. Include no more than 8 upper-level, major-specific courses. This section definitely is not necessary for everyone, but it can be very helpful if you need to show that you've learned skills that you have not yet utilized in the workplace. This is a section that's typically utilized by students and recent graduates, as when you gain more experience, this section becomes less necessary. These definitely aren't all of the sections that could go on a resume, so feel free to develop your own sections for your resume as needed. Here are a couple more tips for you. As a college student or a recent college graduate, typically you'll only need a one-page resume. If you are a non-traditional student or have extensive related experience, you may need more than a page. Unless you're going into a creative field such as graphic design, black and white is still the industry standard. And of course, always proofread your resume to eliminate any spelling, punctuation, grammar, or spacing errors. As a quick recap, here are all of the sections that we covered today. On a resume, you'll have your contact information, an objective or area of interest, an education section, a skills or experience section, and then some combination of these other sections. So, as we wrap up, I want to think about how you can apply what you've learned here today. What can you do to update or improve your resume? Maybe you need to add an objective or decide on what resume style to use. Or your goal may be to watch the Resume Level 2 video. In that video, we will discuss reference pages, cover letters, advanced tips, and the SOAR resume writing method. Thanks so much for watching the Tarleton State University Career Services Resume Level 1 video. If you have any questions, please contact us at 254-968-9078 or careers@tarleton.edu.